Welcome to lesson 2 of this hands-on lab in Autodesk Advanced Steel. This is my class from Autodesk University 2019 in London, and we're going to start by drawing in the balcony support beams. In this example, I've got some construction lines already pre-modeled to show me where I need to put the beams. And I'm going to jump straight in and go straight to the Objects tab, and I'm going to use Continuous Beam. So I select it, and then it asks me to select the start point, and I'm going to select the point here, and I'm going to draw the 4 points around the bottom of the balcony frame. And each point that I pick picks the next point on the beam, and I'm going to finish it here, and then I'm going to right click, and this will bring up the beam dialog box. So the beam section I want to use is a channel, and I'm going to use a PFC channel, and it's going to be a 230 by 75. You'll see that because I've drew the beams anti-clockwise, the positioning is slightly off, so I'm going to first of all mirror the sections, and then I'm going to adjust them so they're offset up to the top left. So the channel sections are now pointing toes in. And then with all beams in Advanced Steel, when I draw them manually, they will not get assigned a model role, so I'm going to select the drop down and then simply select the beam model role. Now I'm going to put in the intermediate support beams, so I jump into the Home tab and I select the rolled I section. I'm going to draw the beams from one point to the other. I'm going to position them, and this time it's going to be an I section. Just make sure it is a UB, and then I'm going to pick that as a 178. The positioning is going to be top middle of the top flange, and the mirroring section actually doesn't matter because it will just reverse the section either way. And again, the naming, I'm going to set that to beam. And I'm just going to repeat the process and put in the beams here and here, right click, and just double check that everything is the same. Advanced Steel should remember the information apart from the model role, so I set that to beam, and we're now got all our sections in place. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to miter the outside channel sections. So I do this by using the Tools palette, select the Features tab, and then I have a miter tool up on the top of the features. Select channel number 1, so it's a left click to select, right click to confirm, and then section number 2, which is a left click to select, right click to confirm, and that will miter the beams. And because I want to create them as an assembly, I'm going to create a weld between the beams. Now, one of the new features in Advanced Steel 2020 is the ability to select the joint box and then propagate the connection. So you select the joint box, right click, propagate joint, and that should find the 4 corners. You can see that it has mitered automatically the 4 corners. So now I need to connect my channel section to the I-beam. So I'm going to start my connection vault. And I've got a fin plate connection already on my favorites, but that is part of the platform beams tab, and you'll see, you may not see it, so just scroll down and you'll see it's third from bottom. So I'm going to select the fin plate, and I'm just going to zoom in, select my bearing member first. So it's a left click to select, right click to confirm, and then the supporting member. So it's a left click and then a right click to confirm, and that will then add that connection in. So it may not put the greatest connection in to start. You can see that mine doesn't look particularly great, and it will all be to do with the position of the bolts. So I'm going to go jump straight into the plates and bolts, and I'm going to look at the bolts and holes. I'm going to switch it to a 12mm bolt and the horizontal bolts, and you can see that the distance is setting out, so I'm going to change that to 50mm. And again, the edge distance there is 50, and the intermediate distance, let's say if I set that also to 50. We then look at the vertical bolts, and this is where it's starting to control. So the start distance is 50, but you can see the intermediate distance. So if I reduce that to 50, you will see that it has reduced the size of the plate, but still a little bit big. And that's because the start distance is 50mm. So if I set that back to 30, you will see that that is then reducing the size of the plate both sides, and this will then allow me to then increase, let's say, the spacing intermediate to 75, and then the end distance, if I set that back to 30, you will see you get a much cleaner plate. So I may just adjust the horizontal bolts again, and the edge distance I may set that to 35 and also 35. So you can see it just reduces the size of the plate. But again, with all connections, you can configure and play about with the connections as you wish. So I'm happy enough with that connection is suitable for what I need. And then again, I repeat the process. So I select the joint box, I right click, and then I should be able to propagate the joint. And basically what it's doing here is it's finding that criteria throughout the model. So where them two beams of that type intersect, it will then propagate that connection, and you'll see that it's added the fin plate connection there, and then when I orbit it round, it also adds it there. So you can see, pretty simple, draw in the beams, add the connections, and propagate the joints around the model. So that concludes lesson 2. Join me for the next lesson 3, where I add in the next components to the model.